Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Scripps Research Graduate Program Open House. My name is Dawn Eastmond, and I serve as Director of Graduate Studies, and I will facilitate the first part of today's event. I have on the screen a schedule of today's open house. I will start with a brief overview of the graduate program and all of the Ph.D. programs that we offer. Then Rosie Albion-Zeckler will moderate a panel of the admissions committee members who will share tips on putting together a strong application. Then Nithya Bhaskaran will moderate a panel of first-year graduate students who will tell you the critical things they wish they knew when they were in your shoes. And then Paulo Garcia and Shannon Deck will close with a Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. So here is an overview of the graduate program session, the first session. So first we'll start with an overview of Scripps Research, what makes us special. And then we'll talk about the different graduate programs. We have our Ph.D. program, a Skaggs-Oxford program, as well as our 2 MD Ph.D. programs. And then I will close with student outcomes. Then the third part of this overview will be the admissions process. We'll talk a little bit about the application requirements. I'll share with you the 2020 admissions statistics and then tell you about our goals for the 2021 admissions season. So let's start with a little overview of Scripps. So the Scripps Research Institute is one of the largest biomedical research facilities in the country. We study biology, chemistry, neuroscience, immunology. We also study over 40 different diseases. So everything from HIV, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes. There's lots of great research occurring on both of our campuses with COVID as well. So generally, we do basic clinical and translational research. We have 2 great campuses, one in La Jolla, California, which is in the suburbs of San Diego, as well as a campus in Jupiter, Florida, which is in the Palm Beach area. We have more than 3,000 employees between our 2 campuses. We have 200 faculty, almost 400 postdocs, over 300 graduate students. So lots of people on the campus who are doing really phenomenal science. We're ranked #1 in the world with the most influential research. So this was done by Nature Index 2017, and we're very proud of that. Scripps is made up of not only the Research Institute, but we also have a Translational Institute. There's Caliber, which is our ability to turn any great basic research into drugs, as well as a number of core facilities. So let's talk a little bit about our doctoral program in chemical and biological sciences. So this program began in 1989. When you have a new program with an institute that doesn't have any graduate programs, you actually have to graduate a student before you can become accredited. So we started with a class of 4 students, and 3 years later in 1993 we had our first graduating class. It consisted of 1 student, and we had a very elaborate graduation ceremony for our 1 graduate. After that, later on in 1993, we became accredited by WASC, which is one of the regional accrediting bodies of the Department of Education. And just recently, earlier this year in February, we became reaccredited for 10 years, which is the maximum that can be granted by the by WASC. So our doctoral program is ranked top 10 by US News and World Reports. We compete with some of the top colleges and universities all around the world for graduate students every year. So we compete with the Harvards and the Stanfords and the MITs for graduate students. And we are the only research institute that's on this top 10. We're quite proud of this achievement. Here are where all of our programs rank. We rank 10th in biology, 6th in chemistry, 2nd in biochemistry, and 5th in organic chemistry. So what will you learn if you come to the Scripps graduate program? I have listed here for you the program learning outcomes. There are 5 of them: original research, critical thinking, communications, intellectual curiosity, and career and professional development. And under each of these, I have a brief description of what types of things that you will do to master these learning outcomes. So an example of this is under original research. You will gain lots of knowledge about your particular subject. You'll learn how to develop testable hypotheses. You learn how to investigate these hypotheses, learn how to master a set of research tools. All of these are really critical for you to be successful as a scientist. For critical thinking, you learn how to identify the really critical issues in your field, in your particular area. You'll be able to put these particular issues into context. You'll learn about statistical rigor and how to structure evidence. In communications, some examples are that you'll learn how to develop a cogent summary of research to share with lay people. You'll learn how to work in teams and to communicate in teams. You'll be able to master manuscript development, a critical responsibility as a scientist. In intellectual curiosity, this includes self-motivation. You'll learn how to relentlessly go after and try to solve uncovered problems. You will learn how to bridge multidisciplinary scientific concepts. And then under the career and professional development, it's really critical that you learn interpersonal communication skills. You'll learn things like mentoring, professional development, and how all of these skills are transferable to different fields. So here are the program requirements. So basically through the program requirements, you will learn the learning outcomes that we just discussed. So the program requirements include coursework, laboratory rotations. There's also advisory meetings and a dissertation, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So our doctoral program is a 5-year program where you start off in your first year doing coursework as well as rotations. So the coursework, we have customizable coursework, and you are required to take 18 course credits, which works out to be about 6 credits. And we encourage students to take courses outside of their research area. So here is an example of this. So these are all of the courses that we offer in our graduate program. There are over 40 different courses that you can take. And you will choose 6 of these courses to take as your curriculum. Now, you can choose them, here's an example of it, through one particular research area like immunology, or you can choose to have a much more interdisciplinary approach to your curriculum by mixing some immunology courses with structural biology courses or chemistry courses, all depending on what your research project is. So here we're showing you an example of what a custom immunology curriculum would look like. First, at the top here is if you focused on immunology. And then here at the bottom are some alternative cores and elective courses that you can take. And the way this works is that your core classes are taking for grades. You have to earn a B- or better. And you can take electives, and you can take them for a pass-fail, where you have to get at least a C to pass that course. So in addition to your coursework, which you can customize, you also do what we call lab rotations. These are 10 to 12-week experiences in different labs to identify where you want to do your thesis work. So this is all done during your first year. Most students do 3 rotations, but you're only required to do 1 rotation in order to complete this requirement. So your first year is made up of 50% of your time doing lab rotations and the other 50% doing coursework to identify your lab. So after you have identified your lab at the end of your first year, you then move into your thesis lab and begin working on your thesis project. In your second year, you're finishing up any coursework that you need to complete and working on your thesis project in preparation for your candidacy examination. Your candidacy examination is a requirement that you have to take in order to become a PhD candidate. It is a two-part exam, an oral presentation as well as a written presentation. The written component is based on your thesis project that you have worked on over your second year. It requires you to write up your thesis project, including your specific aims, the types of experiments you plan to do, and then defend it orally to a committee. So let's spend a few minutes talking about your advisory committee. In your second year, after you have identified the thesis lab that you want to do your thesis work in, you will be required to identify a committee of 3 to 4 faculty who can provide expertise in your research area. They will then serve to provide guidance throughout your 5 years in the program and monitor your progress. They will also sit your qualifying exam to ensure that you have identified a thesis project that is suitable for a PhD. So you will be required to have an advisory committee every year, starting in your second year with your candidacy or your pre-candidacy meeting. Every year from your second year on, you'll be expected to have an advisory meeting. In year 4, your advisory meeting will be based around an oral research proposal. Since you will be getting pretty close to the end of your program, the expectation is that you will have mastered many of the learning outcomes that we discussed earlier. So as a way to evaluate if you have learned these program learning outcomes, you will do an original research proposal. It is very similar to your candidacy exam, but it is outside of your research area. So it's original in the sense that it is something that you come up with, and it is outside of your research. And the goal is to identify if you can apply the learning outcomes that you have learned throughout the program to a different question. And then finally, at the end of your 5 years, you will have a dissertation that will be written as well as defended orally, and hopefully you will have several publications that will be your evidence that you have conducted really excellent research. So moving on now to our Skaggs-Oxford program. Our Skaggs-Oxford program is a 6-year program where you will spend 3 years at Oxford and 3 years at Scripps. You can do it either on the California campus or the Florida campus. And this is really an opportunity for you to engage in biochemistry as well as chemistry or biology work in different training environments. In Oxford, you will focus on the biochemistry components of your project, while at Scripps, you will focus either on the chemistry or the biology of your project, depending on what your research focus is. And it is a very integrated project. So even before you arrive on campus, you will have identified both faculty members, one at Scripps and one at Oxford, that you want to work with and develop the project so that you can hit the ground running once you start at Oxford or at Scripps. So the great thing about the Skaggs-Oxford program is that you can start either at either at Oxford or at Scripps Research. And I have outlined for you what the program would look like if you start at Oxford or if you start at Scripps Research. So on the left is when you start at Oxford. You will basically follow the program requirements at Oxford while you are there. So they don't have any classes, so you will not be required to take classes. You have rotations, which we talked about a little earlier. You'll begin your project. You're required to do professional development workshops, and then you will do your candidacy examination at Oxford. Towards the end of your 3rd year, you will move to Scripps Research, where you will continue the program, continue your project. You will do your ORP examination, which we just talked about, and then defend at Scripps. Now, if you start at Scripps Research, you will follow the program at Scripps while you're there. So we have classes, as we just talked about. You'll be required to take your 18 credits. You will do rotations at Scripps and begin your project, and then take your candidacy examination at the end of your second year. At the end of your third year, you will then move on to Oxford and continue the program at Oxford. So you'll continue your project, they have the professional development requirements, and then you will defend at Oxford. So now let's talk about the MD, PhD programs that we have. So our MD, PhD programs are a joint program with universities very close to our institutes. So at the California campus, you will do the MD portion of the program at UCSD. And on our Florida campus, you will do the MD portion of the program at FAU. So it's an 8-year program, and the format is 2-4-2. And what I mean by that is that you will do your first 2 years of medical school, either at UCSD or at FAU, and then you will come to Scripps for 4 years and do your PhD, and then go back to medical school to finish the final 2 years of the medical school program. So you have your 4 years at Scripps, and basically everything that I just described to you about the doctoral program is done in 4 years. And the ways that we are able to get that done is by reducing the amount of coursework that you'll be required to do. You still have your options for your customizable curriculum, but you're only required to complete 18 course credits, or 3 courses instead of the 6. In addition, your laboratory rotations are taken during your medical school summers. So you're working on identifying your lab before you even actually start the graduate program. Other than that, the program requirements are the same. So now let's talk about student outcomes. So basically, we currently have 320 students on our 2 campuses and about 750 alumni. More than 85% of our students graduate within 6 years. Our time to degree is 5.4 years, which is much less than the national average, which is closer to 7 years. Our students average 3 to 5 publications, and 57% of our graduates go directly into postdoctoral work when they complete the program. I thought that you would be interested in knowing more about our post-graduation outcomes. And what I have for you here are where our alums are as of 2019, when we did our most recent survey. So 35% of our alums, as of the 750 alums that I mentioned, are currently in industry. 22% are faculty in academia all over the world. We have 16% who are in postdoctoral positions, because again, we're a very young program. 7% of them are consulting or doing finance or entrepreneurial work, and 8% are faculty in non-tenure track positions, and this would include liberal arts colleges, as well as K through 12 teaching. And then we have 12% who are doing other types of careers. So let's talk a little bit about the admissions process. So the applications requirements are listed here. Everything is due by December 1st. We have the transcripts for all institutions that you have earned credit towards your degree. For the purpose of the application, unofficial transcripts will do just fine. Official transcripts will be needed if you are accepted to the graduate program, but to apply to the graduate program, unofficial transcripts are fine. We're looking for 3 letters of recommendation from faculty in which you've done research, or course directors who can speak to your potential for doing research. We have 2 statements. One is a statement of purpose, and one is a research statement. And one of the things that the admissions committee will share with you is a little bit about the difference between the research statement and your statement of purpose. This year, given the current situation that we find ourselves in, we are also looking for a COVID statement. Many of you may have been impacted either academically or in your research professionally, and we are very interested in hearing about how COVID has impacted your training. In past years, we have required the GRE, but the GRE is no longer required. You are welcome to submit a GRE score if you would like, but it is not required. And if you're applying for the Skaggs-Oxford program, there's an additional essay that's required. And this essay is all about why you're interested in this experience and the potential faculty that you would be interested in working with at Oxford. Here are the admission statistics for 2020. We had approximately 850 applications for all of the programs that I just referenced. We interviewed 133 of these applicants, either in person or via Zoom, while on our Florida campus, we interviewed 85. We admitted 120 in California and admitted 67 in Florida. And we accepted, and we have an acceptance rate of about 1/3, 33%. Some demographics of those admission statistics are listed below. So 48% of the applicants were women and 55% of our entering class were women. 12% of the applicants were underrepresented minorities and 18% URMs in our entering class. And our entering class, 49% of the students are international. And I just thought that you would be interested in our admissions goals for 2021. So for our doctoral program, we're looking for 45 to 50 students in California. In Florida, we're looking for 15 to 20 students. For our Skaggs-Oxford program, it's a small program. We take about 2 to 3 students. And our MD, PhD program, both in California and Florida, we're looking for about 2 students in each program. And you would apply to those programs through the medical school. You apply to medical school first and then to the graduate program. And the demographics of the various students that we'll admit, we're looking for equal representation in gender. We're looking for URMs of about 20% and the international students about 30%. So here is our contact information. If you have any questions, you certainly can contact us through admissions@scripps.edu. A lot of the information that I shared with you today is located on our website at education.scripps.edu. There's a graduate program section, a portal on that website that has lots of this information.